Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Oh no.
Welcome
that was great.
to the Monday review, ladies and gentlemen. And as You'll Never Walk Alone serenades us as our introduction, I am joined by a fan who has come straight from watching the game and inhaling alcohol as if it's going out of fashion. It's Mr. Louie Easton. How are you, sir?
I don't know how I am, to be honest. I can't. I haven't quite got a grasp that I'm recording a podcast at the moment because I've still got plenty of Peronis going through my bloodstream at the moment. But other than that, I'm absolutely chuffed to be here. Liverpool joining Manchester United and company with 20 league titles in their history, and now overtaking them as the most successful team in English football. Oh, I can't even sum up how I feel at the moment. It's amazing. It's jubilant. Whatever superlatives you want to use, that's how I feel at the moment. And drunk is definitely one of them.
And we're also joined by, obviously, the glue of the Daily English podcast. It is Michael. How are you, sir?
20 times, Man United. Congratulations to Liverpool. I'm feeling... what's the word? The delicate word that will not get us cancelled, Mikey?
I don't know, if I'm really honest. I'd rather not speak about it. As little as possible. Well, today obviously marks a fantastic day for Liverpool and Arne Slot. I do want to make a massive point to that, and we'll get as much information from you, Louis, as possible about Liverpool. But our first section today, people, is all about the newly crowned Premier League champions of the 24-25 season that sees Liverpool making a landslide victory. They've got another month of football to play, and it's already done. It's in the bag. Taking over, arguably, Liverpool's most successful manager of all time, and then coming in and doing it not only as quick, but even better. Louis, it's got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, I would just like to say Klopp is nowhere near he's probably third out of Shankly, Paisley. Then it's Klopp. Then you've got everyone else that you want to include, maybe Rafa's in there. But Slot doing this in his first season is just insane. I did not see this coming before a ball was kicked this season. I saw Arsenal winning the league, if I'm totally honest. Then it would be City, then maybe whoever would be third, and then Liverpool. I would just have taken top four, quarterfinals of the Champions League, and a final of one of the two FA Cup or League Cup finals before the ball was kicked. But the fact that we've won the Premier League in Slot's first season is insane. Where do I start? 2 losses all season. Salah's got his goal, which he was going through a bit of a drought without one in recent form in the Premier League, but he's got one. Alexis McAllister. I cannot believe how good this guy has been for us and how underrated he's been. But he was definitely man of the match against Spurs. 5-1. 5-1 is an unbelievable scoreline for us, and what a way to win the league. Absolutely emphatic in our scoring, in our domination of the entire game. I mean, Spurs, other than Solanke's goal, were not anywhere near it. They haven't been all season, but especially in this match, they were absolutely miles off it. It was total domination for Liverpool. It just seemed like whoever wanted to get on the score sheet was going to get on the score sheet. And, I mean, it's just been an unbelievable season for Liverpool. Absolutely unbelievable. And, there's been all of these sort of allegations against Liverpool that they're the worst Premier League winners ever. It's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Because as we proved against Spurs, this is a team that have completely fitted like a glove under this new Slot philosophy and have been dominant and have been scoring against these teams. And as a Liverpool fan, I'm just absolutely in awe of our season. Just completely emotional, and it's been an unbelievable way to win the Premier League title.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, like you mentioned, Solanke seemed as shocked as anybody else in the stadium actually scoring that header. And it only took 4 minutes before it turned around. And after that, it was all Liverpool. And it was almost like a flicker in the headline, but which will go unnoticed. But it kind of shocks me that perception of Liverpool, or this Liverpool side, being one of the worst to ever win the title as even a thing, because I completely agree with you, as hard as that is to say. Any team that goes almost all season with losing just 2 games, especially at this stage, has done a phenomenal job. The goal difference is phenomenal. Defensively, I think the structure throughout, I always talk about this with football teams. If you have a strong middle, you're going somewhere. Goalkeeper, centre-back, centre midfielders, and a forward line, you've got a strong team, and that's exactly what Liverpool have. And the fact that you're signing these players, they're creating new contracts now that they're getting over the line, I just think they're going to be a formidable outfit next year. I think you were really unlucky to go out of the Champions League, if I'm really honest. That first PSG game, you smashed them. It was. No, sorry, not the first. I'm sorry, not the first PSG game. But I do feel that over the 2 ties, Liverpool had an opportunity to progress beyond PSG. No, that's when Alisson played well in the first game, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was amazing. The thing I would say about the Champions League campaign is I think we just ran out of legs in the second leg, and ever since that Carabao Cup final, we sort of looked a little bit leggy until this match. I mean, I thought Liverpool still had a little bit of a point to prove in recent games, only just getting across the line in recent form against Wolves, against Everton, but we just looked the old us again in this match against Spurs. And I mean, you can say, you make a very good point about this defense, because I think Van Dijk is back to his very best, and I think he probably is the best centre back in the world at the moment. Even if you have another player in mind, you can't really debate this Van Dijk campaign, because Liverpool have only lost twice all season. Like I mentioned earlier, even in that Plymouth game, he wasn't even playing. And I just am in absolute awe. It's ecstasy for us Liverpool fans to be winning a second Premier League trophy in 5 years. And this one's even more special because it's in front of all of the fans again. And
that's exactly what I wanted to bring up, actually.
I'll be going straight up to Merseyside for that parade. I can tell you that much. And the turnout of the Liverpool fans, apparently there were 80,000 Liverpool fans in and around Anfield for this game. And you saw the flares going off. You saw everyone queuing outside Anfield an hour and a half before kickoff. It's just been an incredible day. And this is what football's all about, really. Just these moments and these memories that you create. Stuff that will last a lifetime. And, I mean, I'll remember this day for the rest of my life. I'm absolutely sure.
And can I throw some statistics just to sweeten it even more for Louie? Because, I would love to have that input there. So, first, Arne Slot is the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League. And Virgil van Dijk, the first Dutch player to win the Premier League as captain of his side. That's impressive, but I want to move on. 206 title winners. Liverpool have been top of the Premier League for 206 days this season. 165 more than any other side. Manchester City 41. Dominance. And also, Number 1, Liverpool ranked first in the Premier League this season for goals, 80, shots, 591, shots on target, 216, expected goals at 75.5, big chances in 136, and touches in the opposition's box, 1,274.
Wow. I mean, that does say it all, because whenever you watch Liverpool this season, you just get a feel that they are dominant. And, you know, against all of these other sides that we've played, including Man City this season, who we thought were going to be champions again, probably, but ended up turning off at the beginning of the season even. You see us face these sides, and there's just sort of confidence and control about these games all across the year. And I mean, it is the performance of champions, and you can't deny that. No matter what team you support, you have to say Liverpool did deserve the Premier League way more than any other team did all season. And you can say what you want about Arsenal having injuries, Manchester City going through a transitional period. It doesn't matter. Liverpool challenged last season. It went to the last few games. And seasons before, we'd lose by 1 point, but Liverpool have just stayed consistent throughout these years. Say what you want about FSG and their sales. Say what you want about this summer, how we're probably losing Trent Alexander-Arnold and how we might be losing Darwin Núñez, Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, all of these players. It doesn't matter. We've stayed at the top. We have challenged, and we have got a Premier League title that we have very, very much deserved. It's been a memorable campaign for Liverpool, and I'm running out of words, to be honest. I know I keep on going about this, and I know I'm a bit emotional because I am a bit drunk, but it doesn't. Listen, it's exactly boom. Yeah, it's going to be a day I'll never forget, and what a way to do it! 5-1 against Spurs.
And I think actually Victor called it. Victor called it, like when we were talking about it, like right after the Arsenal drew against the Crystal Palace. Do you remember, Louis? I think Victor called it.
Yeah,
that there would be a goal fest.
I think we all sort of knew, judging by the fact that Spurs have now lost 19 games all season. What a disastrous campaign for Spurs.
Absolutely.
But don't take that away from Liverpool's performance, because it was incredibly controlling.
I think just to conclude on the Liverpool array of emotion, I guess, just to touch on one thing you have said, which was how you feel that Liverpool have done this season on a performance of where other teams have maybe had issues. Arsenal have had injuries, City going through this transitional period. As a team, you can only beat what's in front of you. So
exactly,
and I think you've done that not only. Okay, but comprehensively, like you've been the most consistent team, and there's no other team that could argue that you deserve to be the champions. I don't think, and fitting champions. But I do have a question on the fact that Slot's come in, and from an outside perspective, that's why I want your opinion on this. Do you feel that the fact that he didn't make loads of drastic changes were pivotal to the success?
I think what was most pivotal to the success is the change in tactics in midfield, because we had the 4-3-3 formation with a holding midfielder before. Slot completely changed that. He went with a number 10, and he went with 2 pivots in midfield. He transformed Alexis McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch this season as the 2 holding midfielders, and he put Szoboszlai in a bit more of a sort of energetic position where he'd be required in more positions on the pitch, but also just behind the front 3. He's been pivotal to Mohamed Salah's success this season in sort of going across the right-hand side and providing him with a bit of support. And I think that's where Jurgen Klopp lacked a little bit of know-how in the midfield, because he'd just sort of try and overload it and have the striker come back in that false number 9. We saw that with Firmino. He'd be in defence sometimes, but he required a lot less of the striker, so he could have a bit more freedom for Darwin Núñez and Diogo Jota up front, but also a lot of freedom for Harvey Elliott when he was playing at times this season, and Dominik Szoboszlai. We saw against Spurs, he was all over the pitch, helping out in defence and getting up front to get those shots away and those assists away, as we saw. And I think that was the biggest transformation. He also transformed the fullbacks a little bit to make them a little bit less false backy and a bit more of drifting up and down the left-hand side and right-hand side. And I think that was a bit of a change from Klopp. But other than that, you can't really argue with the fact that he did take over where Klopp left off with that incredible team. In a fantastic place. It was like a sort of Shankly handing over to Paisley sort of thing. And with the way that Liverpool play throughout the season, I don't see why they can't challenge for the big titles again next season and the season after and the season after, especially with this model that doesn't require too much spending and has a lot of profit with shipping off these players and getting in these players that aren't particularly proven but will fit into this system perfectly. That's where Liverpool have succeeded, where other teams haven't, with this money ball sort of system that has implemented over these years. So plenty of credit to Slot, but also plenty of credit to FSG for leaving it in a position where Slot can just, I suppose you could say, slot in.
Slot right in, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, seamlessly.
Nice, yeah, and making a transformation is key, as you would at the Global Sports Podcast Network. We think transformation is important for you as well, and that's why we chose Bioniq as our advertisement.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Absolutely. Check it out as soon as you can. That's Bioniq. We are going to jump into the FA Cup semi-finals. Then we're going to touch on the games that I would consider miscellaneous of the Premier League. No one's really bothered about them anymore, let's be honest. And then we're going to go into the end where we're talking all things Europe. Talking of all things Europe, we're going to go on to the Forest Man City semi-final first. The table currently in the Premier League sees Forest in the lowest position that they've been in for a very long time, in sixth place, in need of a win to go back into third when they have played their game in hand. They were playing Man City today. And I don't know, did experience prevail? Was that the key today? Rico Lewis scored after 2 minutes and then Guardiola after 51 minutes. 2-0, comprehensive victory. Not much to talk about the game in itself. Michael, I'd like to get your opinion on this.
Yeah, to be honest, I had a very hard time following both of the games because Forest City was running at the simultaneously as the Liverpool Tottenham game, and the Liverpool game was far more interesting because of the goals and because of the shambles in which Tottenham Hotspur's defense found themselves in. So it was difficult. It was difficult to follow that game at Wembley, but nonetheless, I have a feeling that what has been going on right now with Man City, like how somebody could describe it in some sort of metaphor, would be Pep Guardiola's reaction for this victory for every single goal that Man City score nowadays. He's ecstatic. I think he's at the very end of the season, he's managed to squeeze whatever energy or whatever football talent out of all of those players at the Etihad Stadium, and you can actually sit on the table. You can see it in the FA Cup, and to be honest, the biggest losers out of this semi-final tie, it's gotta be Nottingham Forest, but not only because they actually lost, but it's also because of in the way how they lost. They were absolutely. They were afraid to attack Manchester City. They were inept. They did not have any idea how to attack properly. To be honest, like my biggest disappointment was basically Chris Wood. He was completely he we have this saying that like you basically walk apart from the game, or outside of the game. So basically, he put on like some hoodie. He was just absolutely invisible. Sells like his goalkeeping abilities. Like he used to show far better goalkeeping skills at the Premier League like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, because now, like for example, with this goal that Joško Gvardiol scored from the corner, I'm really think that the Forest goalkeeper could have positioned himself far better, and he had to take the blame for conceding that second goal. And after that, it was game over at Wembley.
Yeah, comprehensive victory. Go on, Louie. You were about to say something.
I was just thinking, you can't put Sells at fault for the entire loss. I mean, he made some...
No, absolutely. Just for the second goal.
Yeah. There was that unbelievable double save that he did. I think it was from a corner or a cross or something. I can't remember. As I mentioned, I was in the pub watching the Liverpool match, and there was the Forest City game on over at the other side of the pub that I was keeping a little bit of an eye on. And he did make some unbelievable saves throughout that game. And I'm a little bit... Forest have every right to feel a little bit unfortunate. I mean, they've had a terrific season, but it just seems like they've sort of run out of legs towards this end of the season. They're going through a little bit of a rough patch at the moment. But at the same time, if you were to tell a Forest fan that they'd be finishing in the top half of the Premier League, maybe even in a European spot, and get to the FA Cup semi-finals, they would have shaken your hand off before the start of the season. I mean, it's been incredible. Nuno Espirito Santo is an unbelievable manager, and he's proven his worth with this Forest side throughout this entire year. And I would love to see Forest in Europe next season. Absolutely. They deserve it through the way that they've played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. I just hope that the demise. I felt that there was one that had to happen for them at some point, and I really hope that these last 5 games now are at the point where it sees them fall out of the European football's places. But we will touch on that in a little bit. I do want to come to you guys about the Palace Villa semi-final. From a neutral perspective, I thought it was a really good game of football. I enjoyed watching that game, and to be quite honest, it would have been really unfair for Palace not to win as comfortably as they did. I thought they played very, very well. Villa lacked any imagination, in my opinion, to break down what was a very strong Palace side. They set up well, they took the chances well, and Villa didn't really have any response to that. Louie, let's come to you first on that.
Well, I was just amazed by the margin that Palace won. It seems like Villa haven't really recovered from losing in the Champions League against PSG. I mean, they ran for those entire 120 minutes and went until the very end. But since then, they haven't looked great. And Palace, despite playing midweek against Arsenal at the Emirates, looked like they completely outplayed Villa. I mean, I suppose what you could say about the Arsenal game is neither team really looked like they were going for it, and a draw was probably the right result. But the way that Palace won against Villa, those goals that they scored, it was incredible. I mean, Eberechi Eze's first goal, we've seen the form that he's been in recently, and we know the ability that he has, but that goal outside the box, that was so powerful. It beat Emi Martinez for pace, and then Ismaila Sarr coming completely alive in the second half. I don't think any of us saw this coming, and Palace absolutely deserved to be in the FA Cup final based on how they played against Villa. It was a domination, and Villa just didn't look themselves. They didn't play to the best of their abilities, and Palace just completely took advantage of them.
Yeah, I have to agree. And obviously there was a big point in the game where Palace were awarded a penalty to go 2 up. And arguably the biggest transformation of the Premier League as a player, I would say, is Philippe Mateta. I think he's if you watched him in that game yesterday, he didn't lose a ball. He held up. And the job that he does for the team allows the transition to work so well for them, which I felt was really beneficial yesterday. And he did miss a penalty, clipped the outside of the post. And for a team that hasn't been in that position in the FA Cup at Wembley on that stage, it could quite easily have changed that game. But it showed great, I don't know, teamwork, team ethos, whatever it is. They continued, and it truly paid off. Closing words for you, Michael, on that game?
To be honest, yeah, I could just agree with everything that Louis has just said, and I would also like to add that perhaps it's just lack of freshness creeping in again, because we were talking about this many times, that the schedule nowadays football is unforgiving. I mean, you have to stay on your top form. You have to be fit from from start to finish of the season, and as a coach, you have to rotate, because if you don't, at the end of the line, you'll end up running out of you'll just end up running out of steam. You'll end up running out of stamina, and I think this is what's happening to all those top teams who are playing in Champions League, who are playing in Premier League for those top. They are still playing in the Premier League for those top places, and to be honest, I kind of feel sorry for Villa fans, because they were living such a good, nice dream. They're still living a great dream, right? But the fact that they got knocked out of Champions League in such a manner, plus here this, I do not know, like from the season perspective, such undeserving loss. Looking back at everything that Villa's achieved so far this season. It's kind of anticlimactic, but then again, it's football.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when Unai Emery took over them, they were just sitting outside the relegation zone, and considering where they are now as a team, it's hard. I agree that looking at the individual moments, it's quite easy to become disappointed. But if you look with the wider perspective, I think as a Villa fan, you've got to be sat in a happy place that your team are such a team that brings quite a lot to the table whenever you play them or wherever you're playing them. I think we should really touch on the other games, just really quickly gloss over these. Bournemouth, Man United, it was awful to watch, but like what's new? Bournemouth were the better side. They had a man sent off for slipping, which VAR had a look at 45 times and still decided that it was a red card.
Yeah.
Arguably, down to the rule book, it is. In my opinion, it's so harsh. It shouldn't have been a red card. That changed the game, allowed United to have pressure, and Rasmus Højlund bagged and a water finish. Impulsive, instinctive, Xavi Hernandez-like reactions in the 6-yard box. It was 1-1. Michael, what did you watch it?
Yeah. Okay, actually, to be honest, I didn't watch the whole game because it was 6 a.m. Here in California. So sorry, it
was an early kickoff today.
Very early kickoff, so I just couldn't. But I did watch the highlights, and I'll tell you this. I'll touch on a couple points. Number one, red card. I disagree with you here. Those are the kind of tackles which, like in Poland, we call like the sledge tackle. So basically, like not the sledge, the sleigh tackle. So basically, you can just imagine the sleighs, and that was the positioning of the legs of the attacker. He attacked on the very dangerous parts of the leg, and that was a fully deserved red card. Could have ended up in an injury. So here, I'm sorry, Mikey, but here I must disagree. And as far as this equalizer from Rasmus Højlund goes, I already voiced this opinion in a private chat, and I'll just air it here publicly. If you celebrate so much the goal that equalizes the game against off-form Bournemouth, not this top-form Bournemouth, off-form Bournemouth, who have struggles of their own, and you behave as if you had just won the World Cup, sort yourself out, because you were nowhere to be seen whole season, whole round. You were struggling against the sides of Leicester City in the FA Cup. And the only person who would bail you out, Mr. Rasmus Højlund, was Harry freaking Maguire from a free kick, which, if there had been any VAR, that goal would have been ruled out. So I'm sorry. Somebody could say, oh, Michael, but now all of a sudden you are the celebration police. I don't care. Sorry, Højlund. You were supposed to deliver. You did not. Bye-bye.
I still think that red card was... it was 50-50. I'm surprised that VAR overruled it more than anything, because I feel like because the referee didn't give a red card, I just didn't expect him to have to go to the screen for that. But I feel like if he gave a red card as well, then is just as much likelihood of VAR to call him over to suggest that it may be not a red card. It just feels like the intervention felt a little bit unnecessary. And regardless, I mean, Manchester United's biggest opponent is themselves, because that's the general census I get from this team at the moment, because they have the quality. We've all seen the quality. We've all seen these players, when they can perform, they perform. But it's the consistency they lack, and it's these big miracles they require at the end of matches in order to get anything from them. And I'm really worried about this Manchester United team for coming seasons, because it doesn't matter which manager they have. It just seems as if whoever's in charge, it just seems to be underperformance after underperformance. There doesn't seem to be a particular style of play that Manchester United have at the moment. They don't have their own brand that they run off, but it's just, based on a bunch of individuals that are playing together. All it needs is someone to improve the culture at Manchester United on and off the pitch in order to get this team glued together. And that just hasn't happened, regardless of who's in charge. So until that's fixed, I can't see Manchester United improving. And I'm still surprised that they sacked Ten Hag, because he was actually winning trophies there. And I can't see Ruben Amorim winning much with this Manchester United side.
No, you are right. So the demise of Man United is one thing, but then we'll go on to talk about the Wolves-Leicester game. Wolves beat Leicester 3-0. Cunha was a star performance, and they've gone 6 games in a row now, which brings them to 13th in the table. Again, this result did absolutely nothing to the Premier League table, but as a result for Wolves fans, a turnaround similar to what we saw with Everton, really, going back a couple of months now. And the work that's been done there. So a comprehensive victory. Southampton already done, but they went 1-0 up at home to Fulham. Fulham came back and won 2-0. Again, that didn't change much with the Premier League table. I do apologise for whizzing through these, but let's be honest, the most interesting game of all of these was the Brighton-West Ham game. 5-goal thriller and some absolutely belting goals in that. Again, it doesn't change much in the Premier League, but for a neutral, what a game. A last-minute victory for Brighton. Michael, do you have anything you want to add to that game?
Because to be honest, I was surprised as to how quickly West Ham just got deflated, because it just really looked as if that side, the side led by Graham Potter, had actually gotten control against a pretty solid team like Brighton. And it really started to look as if like something that Graham Potter wanted to build all along. But then all it took was one silly mistake, one silly mistake from and Mitoma scoring for an equalizer, and then the goal that actually gave Brighton the victory. To be honest, I do not know who was to blame for this goal more. Was it the goalkeeper who didn't do anything? But then again, you could try justifying his reaction that he thought that the ball would just go wide, and that's why he didn't react. Maybe somebody should have blocked it. Whatever. Maybe it's not that important. What's important is that West Ham had an opportunity again to bring 3 points from a very tough territory, and they just came up short again. And to be honest, if I were the likes of, for example, Jared Bowen or Thomas Souček, I would just be asking myself like whether there's any point in staying in a club like West Ham. Okay, maybe not in club, but like in this team with such teammates, because to let that victory slip away that easily, I think we can just go back to the same discussion we had last time when Louie, you were saying that you just do not understand why West Ham is so underperforming.
Well, I just think that, I mean, you can say what you want about Moyes' style of play when he was at West Ham United, and that was why a lot of West Ham fans wanted him gone, because he was just holding the defence the entire time. But you could not argue that man was getting results. And since then, Lopetegui and Moyes, they just haven't been getting the same results. Sorry, not Moyes, Potter. They haven't been getting the results, and it makes me wonder why they were being so greedy to get rid of Moyes in the first place, because it needs a particular special type of manager in order to play beautiful football and get you results. You can be ambitious all you want, and we've seen the West Ham quality. I mean, the fact that they have that unbelievable front four of Kudus, Bowen, Fulkrug, and Paquetá, but the ultimate stat is they're 17th in the league, and that's not good enough for a team of West Ham's quality on paper. If you remember before the season, on paper, West Ham, we were all predicting, might be challenging for Europe. They had a decent end to last season as well. But it's just been a disaster campaign. You could say what you want about Brighton as well, because while they are in the top 10, it doesn't feel like they are. They've only won once in their last 5 games, and they've lost 3 times. So they seem to be going through a bit of a rough patch. But at the same time, Fulham as well, they're going through a rough patch as well. 3 losses in their last 5. So they're pretty fortunate to be as high as they are. And realistically, they still kind of have an outside chance of challenging for Europe as well. It's really strange, this Premier League season. But it's also beautiful in a way, because all of these teams are so competitive. There is so much quality. In fact, there's more quality than there has ever been in the Premier League before. And it makes for such an interesting end to the season. But if you are a fan of West Ham United at the moment, you have every right to be frustrated.
Just 2 years ago, they were winning the Conference League trophy in Prague.
Exactly.
And it just all went downhill from there.
Yeah, I think for me, I would have gone on what Louie said with greedy. Like, I think that's a perfect adjective to describe it. And the reason that they changed was because they didn't like the style of play, but yet that style of play was getting results. So I think you've hit the nail on the head. Hopefully, the quality will improve. But we here at the Global Sports Podcast Network choose quality and make sure that quality is of the highest. That's why we choose Zencastr.
Here at the Global Sports...
Sorry, my bad. Once again.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Check it out and check out all of the other podcasts available to you at the Global Sports Podcast Network. We are going to conclude with the games that actually are still playing for, a place in Europe. We have got the Newcastle game, which was very interesting, but no surprises. And also the Chelsea game, which again, didn't have surprises either. Let's go to the Newcastle game first. They played relegated Ipswich. They had a man sent off. And after that, it kind of just came. It was always coming. I felt that Newcastle were always on the forefront. They were always smashing it. Liverpool are in my brain. I just keep seeing Louis' face, so happy. I can't keep flipping the tongue with Liverpool. Newcastle smashed it, to be fair. Dan Burn with a great finish to a cross over the top, and then YOUela finishing in the 80th minute. It was just comprehensive, I thought. And they're now in 3rd place in the Premier League. That can all change, obviously, when Forest have their game in hand. But let's not underestimate just the run of form that Newcastle have had. Michał, what's your opinion?
My opinion is that I felt so sorry for Newcastle strikers every single time, like in the first half, like for the entirety of the first half. Because if you watch that game, you would just see how Ipswich. I believe that was still the game in which Ipswich were fighting for survival, and they didn't, and they were not confirmed as relegated. They hadn't been confirmed relegated yet. So Newcastle, they were attacking and attacking and attacking. Isak, they were throwing everything at that defense, and still, somewhat, some way, they were like at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 goal line clearances. And I just was like, oh my word, like Ipswich, you guys are such a lucky lot. But then, like, once this penalty happened, to be honest, yeah, it was just, a done deal. Like, once, like, Newcastle opened the scoring, they just went ahead with this team. And Ipswich, like, looking at the entire season, deservedly going back to the championship. And as far as Newcastle goes, yes, I am very happy that Kieran Trippier got his Player of the Match award after this game. Of course, maybe perhaps not according to Premier League website, just to another website. But still, I still deserve it. Like, Kieran Trippier, what a game by this dude. I mean, the very well-deserved title. And I would just love to see Newcastle in the Champions League next season.
Well, they're putting themselves in a great position. They're now currently on 62 points, which is above Man City and Chelsea, and of course Forest. But Forest with that really important game in hand, which puts them back into third place if they win that, obviously. Louie, I'm going to come to you because Chelsea is sat on 60 points currently, joint with Forest. Forest with the game in hand, as I've already said. And Chelsea were playing, an Everton side that you don't know what you're going to get. So it was interesting. Nicholas Jackson, he got his first goal since December, and he's given hope to Chelsea's claim at getting Champions League football next year. What was your take on it?
Well, I've got a couple of stats for you first. So this is very interesting. Chelsea are now unbeaten across their last 30 Premier League games against Everton. Their last loss against Everton came in November 1994. It was a 1-0 loss. That was the Blues' longest unbeaten home run against an opponent in their Premier League history. Only against Leeds United between 1953 and 2001, 36 games, have Everton had a longer winless away run in their league history than their current run of 30 against Chelsea. They've also scored fewer away goals than any other Premier League side this season with 12, with today being the 8th time they've failed to find the net on the road this season. As for the actual game, well, I mean, it's an important win for Chelsea, and, you never know what you're going to get with Everton under David Moyes. We understand that the absence of James Tarkowski has been pretty detrimental to this point of Everton in their season at this point, but you have to give credit to Chelsea. I understand that they have had a bit of an inconsistent season, but they're chasing Europe and they got exactly what they wanted at home in the early kickoff, which is also a very difficult game to play in any circumstance. And credit to Chelsea. It wasn't the prettiest of wins, holding on to a 1-0 lead from the 27th minute. But you can't argue with 3 points.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's really important to mention that the game in hand is going to be played on Thursday. And as our forecast obviously goes out on a Friday, maybe we could do a really quick forecast on that game before we conclude this episode. Forest are playing at home to Brentford. You have to say it's an all or nothing match now for Forest. They need to put all their eggs into this basket. We've talked about their legs and the suffering of these teams that maybe don't have the same depth or quality in depth in the squads as our, what you'd call your top six. Are they going to be able to pull out a result against Brentford? Let's go to Michael first, and then Louie, you can conclude.
To be honest, I am okay. Just purely on paper, Forest are the favourites to win that game. But then again, to be honest, I'm looking at the struggles of Nottingham Forest tactically, especially in defence, and just look on the back of the FA Cup semi-final against Man City. To be honest, I like in February, I was almost sure that Forest would make the Champions League places. Now, I am not so sure anymore. Something is broken in the defense of Nottingham Forest. Something is wrong with their structure. Nuno Espirito Santo, for some reason, he's lost the grip with like his tactical approach. Or maybe he hasn't lost the grip and his players did. Maybe. I have no idea. But what I do know is that for the Forest, it's going to be do or die. At the end of the day, I would predict a narrow victory, but still a victory nonetheless. And them coming back to being thirds in the Premier League table. And as far as Brentford goes, yeah, I mean, well, they might have a fighting chance, right?
Yeah, true. Louis, just before we do conclude, Brentford to be coming into this game as an away team, come off the back of draws to Chelsea, Arsenal, and a win at home to Brighton 4-2. I don't think they're a team to overlook too quickly.
I mean, we always talk about Forest's defence, and they probably have been the best defence in the Premier League all season. It's so organised, and they play on the counter-attack. And, Brentford, I know they got 4 goals against Brighton, but Brighton were a man down for the majority of that match. It all depends on how Bryan Mbeumo performs, because he was probably the difference between Brentford and Brighton that last time out. And it depends on how Forest can contain them. They like to play on the counter-attack. They'll be at a bit of a disadvantage with that extra game being played this weekend against Manchester City at Wembley, which we all know absolutely exhausting, giving everything. So Brighton have that extra day of rest. They were at home against West Ham, and they got that very... sorry, not Bright. What am I on about? Sorry, I'm mixing my teams up. The alcohol's coming in, guys.
Understandable. You've just won
sorry.
I'm still
history. Jubilant. But no, Brentford with that extra bit of rest going into this game, I think that will play its part. But you cannot underestimate an evening at the City Ground. Forest fans can be so loud, and that can be a bit of advantage. I know that it doesn't make too much of a difference to what happens on the pitch, but when the adrenaline kicks in, and there will be tired legs towards the end of that game for Brentford, I think Nottingham Forest might just have enough, and they have every right to be motivated in this game, because this puts them up to third, and this is such a crucial match because this is their game in hand. I think Nottingham Forest might just have the motivation to get over the line against Brentford. I'm predicting a narrow victory, just like you said, Michał.
Yeah, and on the day after when Liverpool were crowned Premier League champions in absolute style, a draw that levels with Manchester United's 20 titles as Tottenham Hotspurs were demolished, dismantled at Anfield, and a day where wild celebrations and pure emotion was on the elation of all Liverpool fans. It's been an absolute pleasure having you both here. As always, we are the Daily English Premier League podcast, and we will see you every day until the Premier League season concludes. And then after. Boys, it's been a pleasure. I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.